Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the video. Fighting Crypto here, and I want to talk about HBAR. There's a lot of stuff going around in the background. Specifically, I want to talk about their ETFs and their little crypto funds that they're being involved into. Like the Coinbase 50 was one that already happened a little while ago, right? And there's a lot that's building up that I think is incredibly bullish, both the short term and long term for HBAR. So whether you are a long-term hodler and you're taking this shit into 2030 or beyond, or if you're a little bit more of where I'm looking with HBAR of shorter term for this cycle, Q1, Q2 of 26, whatever it is that you think it's going to be, this is great news for both cases. So again, there's been a lot of buildups of ETFs and funds, a lot of news on the background, which is going to be great for the amount of liquidity that comes in and stable liquidity coming in. That's what I'll talk about in this video. I'm not going to spend too much time. I think that was good enough of a quick intro. If you've been here before and you get anything from these videos, please press the like and or subscribe button, and let's move forward talking about this. So there's been more and more ETFs coming out. They're going to be easier and easier as they go due to the new fast tracking system we have for it, to where many of the larger cap crypto, that as long as they have a derivatives or future on some exchange, essentially they can be fast tracked for about 20 days of being filed and pushed for an ETF. Bitcoin, Ethereum, ETFs have been running this cycle. Solana's had an ETF coming out. HBAR now has a couple ETFs coming out and far more coming in behind them. Right? And the reason why this matters is that this now gets crypto launched on the NASDAQ. It brings more institutional recognition. It brings a lot more, we'll call it the boomers, and everybody else that are into stocks all the way get into crypto in a stock-like method that feels safe or comfortable or whatever for them. It brings in new people, which is great. So what's going on with HBAR ETFs right now? Right? Let's start with what has already happened. Right? In 2024, we started hearing little whispers about altcoin ETFs. And we saw Solana, XRP. We talked about Litecoin and even Doge getting theirs. But there was also a Canary signing for Hedera. Right? By late 2025, HBAR has appeared on at least 6 confirmed ETF filings here in the US, and possibly more that just hasn't been publicly indexed yet. And the lineup right now is Canary Capital, which was the first one to do a spot HBAR ETF, and it was recently amended to be called the Canary HBAR Trust. Awesome. Grayscale Investments. Yeah, Grayscale. That's a pretty big effing one. It's not like these are all created equal, right? They filed for an S1 on their own for a spot HBAR ETF, and that's going to be great to provide direct exposure through actual holdings. Crane Shares are known a lot more for funds, but they've included HBAR in proposals for broader market blockchain and smart contract ETFs. We have ProShares that filed for a CoinDesk 20 crypto ETF. That has a nice little diversified basket that includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, HBAR, and several others. We have Rex Shares and Osprey funds that have both submitted filings for single asset and multi-asset crypto ETFs, which HBAR is included into there. And then even Fidelity, right, have filed for an HBAR ETF alongside their Solana and XRP proposals. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that HBAR is as far along as XRP and Solana, but they're a lot closer than most of us think that they are or realize that they are. To get a little bit into the rumor, but realistic rumor category, is people are pushing out maybe BlackRock is going to be exploring exposure into Hedera through an upcoming digital infrastructure fund. So that's feasible. I'm not going to jump in and say I very much believe it, but there is connections with BlackRock. BlackRock is not directly or not at all a governing council member or directly using HBAR, but they did through Archvax. I know I just butchered that pronunciation, but it was a third-party company that put in BlackRock funds onto HBAR. So it's realistic, but I'm going to wait to hear something about BlackRock specifically saying it before I really push that concept. But it's a cool little thought, and again, I think it's got some legitimate potential behind it. So how well has the HBAR ETF done? Because it's great if a product's out there, but if it doesn't buy or if it doesn't get sold and no one buys it, who gives a shit, right? So didn't do too bad. On October 28th, not too long ago, Canary Capital officially launched the first US-based spot HBAR ETF, ticker HBR, and it's trading on the NASDAQ. And on one day, it did 65 million, right? That is not like record shattering, but that's pretty good. Like, it's a great start for a crypto that is not just a household name. And again, this lets institutional investors come in because this puts it right alongside Canary's Litecoin ETF and Bitwise's new Solana ETF. They came out essentially at the same time. And this just opens up the door for hedge funds and institutions that wouldn't, or more so couldn't, touch crypto wallets or exchanges before. Now they have their easy access for it. And once one thing like an ETF for a crypto comes out, that kind of just opens up the doors for more to come. It's like, oh, they already did it. That was successful. Our turn, because people are greedy and greed runs this market. And it's phenomenal when that happens in favor of, whatever crypto you own at the time. So ETFs rarely, I guess we can say not at all. This is still a new narrative, right? But ETFs don't usually cause immediate moonshots, but it is a slow, steady structural demand base. And it essentially just builds trust and stability, right? No one's going to jump in and we're going to have billion-dollar days right away on Hedera. It will be slow and steady. Money will come in and it will gradually go up. It makes retracements during crashes matter less. We rebound a lot faster. So it's just great for the general longevity of the crypto. Wondering like, oh, how's it going to stay? Because people are buying it. That's how it's going to stay. I'm also fully expecting that HBAR is going to be finding itself in a lot more crypto index funds and group portfolios like the Coinbase 50 index or Market Vectors Digital Asset 25 or CF Benchmark, Smart Contracts Platform Index, and all the others. Why? Because index are constantly being rebalanced to reflect network strength. Meaning if you have an index fund that's got 5 different crypto into it, and let's say it's 40% goes in the top one, 20% in the next one, 10% in the next one, and then fill in the math for the others, right? That will change the proportions based off of popularity and what are people buying this for and independently on other chains and markets. So as Hedera gets more popular, which presumably, if you're a bull for it, you think it will, it'll get larger percentages of these index funds over time. It certainly has a larger portion of the Coinbase 50 index than it did when it was first released a while back. And then the more funds and ETFs at HBAR or any crypto, but focusing on Hedera right now, the more ETFs and funds that gets, the more people are buying from different sources, which raises the percentage that people buy, which will raise the amount in each fund that it accounts for. So maybe if it started as 5% of this digital infrastructure fund, and there's 20 of them, people are going to buy it. HBAR goes up a little bit. And then like, oh, let's add this to 10% of this fund, 15% of the fund, which is just more and more HBAR that builds. And way over yonder in Europe, where many of you are, 21 Shares already has a Hedera or already has an HBAR ETF listed on regional exchanges. So these European listings often act as like a little test run before bigger US funds adopt the same structure. It's been that way. UK is ahead of US right now on crypto. It's probably going to flop before too long. But right now, if the UK is doing something, we kind of look over like, oh, is it working for them? If so, we produce more of it. So it's good to see that's happening over in Europe. So clearly, I think this is a big deal and great news for HBAR because more of these funds that come out, more of these ETFs that come out, makes it so HBAR is no longer relying on retail as much as they're now relying on corporations and institutions. And what has this whole bull run been so far, right? Corporations and institutions buying ETFs. So it's just a great sign and just builds even more conviction for me that this is going to be a long-standing project. And I have less and less like holes to pinch through on HBAR as time goes on. So what are your guys' thoughts? Do you care about ETFs or ETPs and all these index funds? What do you think about HBAR? Tell me what your comments are. Let me know your thoughts. Discuss amongst yourselves. I'll pretend that I'll stay out of it. And as always, thank you guys for being here. I'll talk to you guys all again soon. Peace.